before the Puja. This is Mount Shasta. It's 14,000 and some feet. It's a volcano, although allegedly dormant. And we're out there doing these contact protocols, and suddenly, I'm pointing, I didn't want to hit it with my laser, this object appears. Again, they sometimes make a comma motion, that it's in the field. So I tell people at that point, they've arrived, the detectors begin to interact, and then they'll dematerialize, but we'll go into the dimensions of consciousness and see who they are and contact them. This is an interesting object because it came over, is not a falling star, and look what happens at the very end of it. Reminiscent of the object that came in at the beach that wrapped around the Peruvian doctor. Unfortunately, it got ice and kindness came in. This is not a moon. Look at this, how beautiful. But the lens of it was about 22 degrees, 24 degrees, and the lens camera froze over with ice. People go, gosh, you go out in that weather? I said, yeah, this was in the summer, but you're up at 7,000, 8,000 feet. This is a beautiful object. This is reminiscent of the crop circle, the cubic forms of the crop circles that same year. And an object comes in, just like that one, the one you saw earlier, and it makes this beautiful geometric shape that's kind of a woven cube at the base of it. This is not a falling star, I assure you. Here's another one of these objects that comes in right in front of the trees a few feet from us, lights up. And when you see that, you go, they're here. Now the people say, well, why don't they just fully materialize and come out and walk around? Well, it's very dangerous for them to do that. And if they've come this far through transdimensional space-time and from other galaxies, they expect us to be awake enough to go into consciousness and then commune and communicate with them when they're dematerialized right in the field. They do these events just to let us know that they're very close. Now this is amazing because people who lived at Mount Shasta many years and will live there for years and never see it. Every time we go, this happens. So these objects are emerging up at about 13,000 feet or close to 14. And this is a star. This is coming out of the mountain. And it is a light ship coming out of the crystalline deep formations within Mount Shasta, very transdimensional. The one that lifted up and flew off to the left, I showed you earlier, was actually in the field with us. This one is actually emerging out of the mountain. We have a photograph. I'm hoping it'll be in this series where there's about a dozen of them. Look at this is a glacier, very steep, vertical. Yeah, it is almost as if one of the brightest stars in the sky emerges on the side of the mountain and comes out and begins to communicate with us in consciousness.
Everybody see it? Now these emerge in and out of this, and it's in that sheer. You know, it's interesting they chose that area because that's.
There's I have some night vision scopes that are much better than the ones we're filming with, and you can actually see the terrain and the vertical area, and it's coming straight out. Look at how bright it is. Isn't that beautiful? You guys should go take your groups up to Mount Shasta. It's up at near the Oregon border in California. I've done many expeditions there. The problem is it's hard for us to find a place to do our contact work there that will hold all of us. This one's going on, and then this comes in right in the fence. Look, boom. Very close to us. So they're here, here, and then they're in our consciousness. Watch this. There it goes. Now these light craft and beings that appear very quickly, it's reminiscent of when I interviewed the police and the military in Belgium when they had all those large triangular craft being seen. And the part of the report that got left out is that they would dematerialize and form just a sphere like this and then shoot off into space and go straight out into space.
Right here.
So this is also very late after there are no satellites, and it's interacting with us again.
So there are no iridium now.
And you can hear the detector just went off.
Yeah.
Bloop, bloop.
It's often north and northeast. The kindness, the easy access, I'm sure we got.
We're up at a site at about 7,000 or 8,000 feet when this happened. Very clear air, gorgeous, but cold. You need 6 layers of clothing, and this is in September, early September, I believe. Beautiful. And then you can see it doesn't move, it just disappears. This got pixelated. They were trying to zoom in. It's beyond the camera. This was a night scope monocular, 3rd generation, hooked to a digital camera. Another object right outside the circle. Sometimes there'll be a scatter of these, and when they scatter, it's an area where the area is being activated, as it were.
But something came in. Oh,
Isn't it beautiful? This is Mount Shasta's in the fog. And it's going straight up. Yeah, Mount Shasta is almost like one of the chakras of Mother Earth. Beautiful. It was going up, came up from the volcano going up.
It's just a arrival of a golden object in the north field here. I mean, it's golden.
I'm talking about a golden object arrived in the north field, and then the camera captures this. Yeah, right here. So with these night scopes, you can't see color, but many of these objects, they range for every color of the rainbow. These look like discrete lightning bolts in a small area. These happen very frequently coming into this dimension. This is a planet. This is not. So one of the things that most people don't realize when you begin to practice the CE5 protocols is that you have to have all your senses on. This is just visual. There are tonal, there are sounds that are coming in, may or may not get recorded, and there are also even smells. You can actually, sometimes you'll smell like carnations or roses or...
What time, please?
Very, very bright. Emerging. Bless you. Then towards the end of the night, what I always ask people to do is to connect to everything that we've seen and the intelligences within them, the people within them, and invite them to come into your dream time. And since there's really no barrier to space and time, right now you can go back in time to this event, connect to those beings, and ask them to come in to dream time with you tonight here. You understand? So these are just ways to awaken the mind and remind you they're never very far away at all. And when you begin to realize that interstellar civilizations are not required to appear the way Hollywood would like for you to imagine them, and you begin to understand all the different ways they can manifest like this, you can go out and with a completely open mind experience their presence. There has never been an expedition in the 25 years I've been doing this where something new that I have never seen or experienced hasn't happened. We're on another, on the west coast of Florida, near Marco Island, and we're on a state beach. And all of a sudden, these very strange objects start appearing everywhere. It turns out on this one particular night, there were 300 of these objects seen. And they're actually lighting up the mangroves. We're looking towards the Gulf of Mexico. This is a lagoon that you have to walk through during the day if you want to go out to the ocean, and we're on a sandy beach. Now, this is beautiful. What is this? We take a photograph. It's a little out of focus. We're just starting our meditation, and a brilliant object flashes. But what the camera captures is this. This is the ocean. The edge of the ocean is out beyond these mangroves. This is sky. These are stars. And this, it goes all the way twice as far as this. And it's almost like a rupture in space-time with all these objects that appear over the ocean, very near us. And everyone is in meditation, you can see. Now, is very strange. The Tibetan prayer bowl is the arrows in the wrong place. And objects begin to show up around us. And we're in this sandy area on my land in Colorado. And this is one of the stranger things that have happened. We're in a circle. This is a still camera, very high resolution. And this looks like a blue beam that appears between two people. And you'll see this again at Mount Shasta in a moment. This is one of my favorite. This is coming straight up. The native peoples reported this for centuries. This is an object. Here's our circle. This object comes up and stops right here, right in front of us, a light ship. The local ranchers will see these objects coming up from the earth, and they call them cheap fireworks. And they're actually deep underground in the earth, ET spacecraft that come in and then launch up. This is me right here. And out here on this part of the Baca, the desert, there's this reddish object that appears right at dusk. And this is beautiful. We're breaking up. This is where we put Sherry's ashes on my land. And there's this gorgeous burst of energy and light right beside it. We went out earlier to set up before the group, and I started sensing there was a golden ship, and I pointed over in the meadow, just like that picture in England. And this is sitting right on the land, right on the edge of the stream here. There's nothing over there. There are no houses, no cars, no roads. And it's just coming up from the ground, luminous. It's a ship sitting in the field. This again, not too long ago, 2011, an object that comes. You can see the mountains. It's not something in the sky. It's very close to us again at our contact site. Now, the dark object is because the camera got kicked over, and that's dust. Don't be, it's nothing interesting. But this luminous object is. This is pretty interesting because it's three objects in front of the mountain. It's a theme that keeps recurring. This was fantastic. Unfortunately, the night vision camera didn't capture it. No satellites up. This object, with the night scopes I have that are much better than these that are connected to the camera, you could see a perfect CE5 triangle floating across. So it was three spheres connected by bars floating across the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Interestingly, after this, and not too long ago, in the Midwest, one of our teams had a night scope that captured a CE5 triangle that flew right over and turned. You're going to see that in a moment, which actually see the shape of it. This, unfortunately, it was so bright that this particular resolution on this camera and night scope did not permit the discernment of the actual structure. That this was in the atmosphere, not too far away and fully materialized. This is magnificent. Look at the size of this object right above the mountain. Look at the size of this. So this is what you think it is. Look at the shape and the size. It is a craft that's actually hovering there that unveils itself, comes into this dimension, and then recedes. Does that make sense? So you need to look for these when you're out. This is an object right in the tree where Sherry's remains, the ashes are. Look how close, it's maybe 20 feet from us. Now, this is interesting because this is, again, another year at Shasta. We're across the valley from the town of Mount Shasta up on the other side, and suddenly all these objects start appearing, coming out. This happened for several hours, and then there are still photographs you'll see of these beings that are around us by this huge log house that we were using. I don't know if it's in this series. At one point, there was a gigantic Arcturan-type being, a mesomorphic, that was about 12 feet tall, that was just outside the group, partially in this dimension. It's glitching, but there's a whole group. Look at all the ice and snow this year, and these objects are coming out. There's a road down here that what you want to be, and someone walks right in front of the camera. Here they're coming. This is pixelating and breaking up digitally. I apologize. There's probably nothing we can do about it. Someone else walks in front of the camera. Memo to participants, do not walk in front of the camera when a contact event is, here's one way up here in the snowfield. See this one? So they begin to emerge all over the mountain. Eventually there are about a dozen of them.
Oh yeah, here it's back, it's back. There's a
here they are, and two here, one here, and then there was the one up here. And soon you'll see it. Unfortunately, this is jerking along. The actual video is really excellent, but the computer is chewing it up.
Is there a particular
It's a
reason why
ravine,
the
it's incredibly steep.
volcanoes are chosen?
Oh, there's one way up higher.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Up here.
Yes.
Often they're in volcanic areas because in those
Snowfield.
mountains are very, very large crystalline caverns where they can reside. And also they're monitoring geophysical activity in the event of instability. So
You look way up
Yeah,
high. Did you see
right.
how bright this one was?
there's more. It keeps getting brighter and bigger and brighter. It goes on and on and on.
Oh, how bright. Look at that.
And some of them are
Did
huge.
you see it? It
So
materialized.
these are, some people have lived in this area their whole lives and never seen it. We've never gone to Mount Shasta where these beings and these craft haven't emerged out of the
It
mountain.
was almost like cells
And
that
it's
were-
all has to do with the consciousness of the group. Look at that one. It's like a giant star emerging out of the mountain. Yeah, this is way far away. This is a 14,000-foot mountain. So the size of this object is substantial. This is a huge mountain. It's not a speck of light. So these are light ships that are emerging out of the mountain.
Really bright, and there's one straight above. Now,
And you've seen the ones that flew up and flew out into space. These are ones that are just coming in and out, materializing, dematerializing in and out of the mountain.
One above, one
And this happens in
beside it. They're making
are
a
all over the
triangle.
earth, actually, underwater as well. Someone at the break was asking me. Hopefully still images will be better. Look at this. It looks like it's a being, and almost like a, this is a, and it's between two people, just coming, almost like a jacket, but it's barely in this dimension. It comes in and out of this dimension. This is no flash bulb. This is there, luminous. It's partially, this is an infrared shot in the middle of the day, and this object comes in. We have the camera set up, and it picks this object up that's a sphere. It comes up where I'm meditating in the morning, because we get up around 11 or 12 before noon, because we're up till 4 in the morning. And here's this object. Then the following night, an object comes and appears right in front of the tree and is materialized right in front, visible to the naked eye. This is a plane. Ding, 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 ding. Now this is beautiful. There are all these beautiful lavender objects come up over my heart chakra. This is a gas tank. But this is not my laser. My laser's in the pocket. This thing that looks like a laser is coming from space and comes down. And look at this. I can pause this for a moment. This is what happened with this is worth describing. It looks like an abstract art. This is an actual photograph of what we were seeing with the naked eye. So after that contact event happened and there was an ET that was in the middle of the circle, we heard footsteps outside the circle in the direction of this. And I went out and I had my hands out, palms facing out, and with my third eye, my heart, and my two palms made a tetrahedral shape connecting to those beings. And suddenly, the entire area was suffused in millions and millions and millions of multicolored, beautiful lights. It was like swimming in an ocean of celestial light, and it was all around us. People were weeping. It was so celestial and beautiful. It was definitely extraterrestrial, but at the level of celestial energy, and it came into this dimension. And just from the point of view of art, this is so beautiful. Unfortunately, the computer has kind of ruined this, but it's actually much clearer when you see the actual photograph. So what can happen is that they can create an environment where they come in and you then find yourself walking in an ocean of scintillating light, and their essences are all around you. And what I felt was that every single one of these emanations was a representation of a different species from a different star system. And it's as if you were walking through stars that were conscious, and it was like an ambassador flotilla of points of conscious light at almost the causal astral interface that came into the dimension of Earth. It was so stunningly beautiful. Many of you have seen this, about a 5-minute event. This is what the debunkers on YouTube have said is a flare. So it's dark at night. It's in the winter at 9 o'clock. The sun sets at 5. And what happens is really astonishing, because first there's this one massive golden ship and then another one, and they're there, and there is a very stiff 20-30 knot wind coming out of the north, and they are stationary. Definitely are not flares, but that's what they're explaining, just like the Phoenix Lights also were. Now here you have another person who should be down, and this is one of them, and in a moment you'll see another. The experience of this was really beautiful, because It looked like the sun coming up at 9 o'clock at night. And it wasn't something that came up, actually. It was just appeared and was stationary. And you can see the cloud being lit up. And the wind's coming very, very, very strongly from this direction. So someone said, oh, well, it's a special flare on a parachute. Another person said, well, it's just a regular flare. But so look at this one. And it's what you think it is. But this went on for about 5 minutes. And they were very bright, beautiful. This is a camera, the Sony AES7, that you can adjust it so at night you're filming in full color like night scope. Pretty amazing technology. So Daniel, who's on our team in Toronto, was the camera guy for this. And it was quite cold that night. We were up by the dunes and not further out by the ocean because the wind was brutal, and it was in the 30s, I think. This is Florida in the winter, but quite cold. Now, if you were to put up a flare in a 20, 30 knot wind, believe me when I tell you, first of all, you see a smoke trail. Even if it was an electronic flare on a little parachute, which is what one debunker said, it would be moving at the speed of the wind, obviously. And if at the ground, if it's 20 or 30 knots, when you get up higher, it's going to be much more wind. As you know, as you go up, you catch more of the winds because you don't have any a wind break from the land and structures on the land. But we were connecting with these two, and it's almost like two eyes. You feel like you're having a being with two eyes, and they're sort of recapitulating us staring at them, and I felt they were looking back at us and connecting. I was asking people to go into this deep state of consciousness and connect with them. Have most people seen this before? Yeah. But I wanted to. Yes, well, people get excited, and they want to stand up, and it's understandable, but it's people are trying to, and they go there, and then eventually they just go away, they just vanish. First this one, and then this one. So we had a guy who was actually it was a Navy guy, and he said, this is no flare. But other people said, well, the military was just playing tricks on you. And of course you can always claim that. Basically, if you're there and you're feeling it and seeing it, and when you see it with the naked eye, it's even more affecting than when you see it through a camera. And then they go away. Goodbye. It's beautiful. Oh, this is the same object. This is a still photograph. And they have it looks like it's daytime. You see the stars. This is great still photography. It's a man, a psychiatrist who's on our team, and he lives in Montreal. He had a really wonderful camera set up. Look how crystal clear these are. So they're not, and by the way, I have a fourth generation night scope binocular, military grade. You have to fill out the Homeland Security paperwork to get them. And there were no aircraft anywhere in this area and no ships. But still, they say it was either dropped from an aircraft or came up from a ship, even though there were no aircraft there and there are no ships there. But the beautiful photography by this gentleman. This was at a park on the ocean near where we had engaged a house, an oceanfront house to meet in for the week last year. Was it last year? Year before? Anyway, in the last 2 years. Now you can see it with a less high quality camera. Yeah, this is a very inexpensive digital camera. Same event. And also not on a tripod, obviously. Yeah. Still, now I'd like to, in all these cameras, There's no smoke trail, there's no parachute, they're not blowing downwind, and there are no other ships or aircraft around. And this went on for quite some time. And the experience in our circle and on the beach, and what happened later that night, when people went back into dream time after the session, people had extraordinary contact events with these interstellars, the ETs. Look at how gorgeous. Oh, and we had it's a calibrating camera, and again, no flash bulb, but there is this blue orb and this gorgeous light, and it's where people had seen this object flash in and out. And I think there's this one is this the triangle that flies over? As a transparent UFO, these two objects are, see, everything is stationary. These two are flying synchronously together. See it? Right here. Here it is, these two. And no satellites in the area, in that area. They're very close. You can see how bright they are. There's a lake here, and they get brighter. A little bit of jerky camera work, but they're doing the best they can. On September 11th, 9/11, interestingly. Look at the date. Oh, there's another event. This is the golden ship that went from east to west. This is another event, and it was truly golden, beautiful color. It's almost like it's living too and spinning. Look at it carefully. You can see the sections of it. It's like it's not just, it has like three components up in Oracle in Arizona. And in the edge of the field, this multicolored, gorgeous, there's nothing there, emerges and comes very close to us. And here's another one. This is at night, but it's just it's made, and look at all the light within it. This was in Australia, and it was an infrared specially adapted camera. And we start having all these amazing objects occur. Also not artifacts, by the way. Oh, look at this. This is the one. This is the Sea-City Triangle. Look at it. Look at it go. In and out of the clouds. Oh, this is another fly-in by kindness. It's blue-white, if you were to see it with the naked eye. One of the wonderful things about if you get one of the apps for your phone or your iPad, or just print off a satellite chart, if you're out late enough, it depends on the time of year, there's a time where there are no satellites visible. And so when these events happen after there are no satellites, it rules them out. If it's during that time when there could be satellites, you've got to check the satellite charts. So we can go to the next one. Oh, I don't know where this is. Oh, this may be Portugal. It's not labeled, I don't believe.
Yeah, it's not. Oh, yeah, that's. Yeah,
Oh.
soul movements.
There's an object here that came and went. I don't know if you noticed, from one frame to another.
It's still moving, still there.
It's still there. So let's go to the next. I think this is must be frozen.
No, it's just slowly doing like a few seconds per frame, and then let you see the graduation. Fades it in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going up. It's quite large, this ship. Here, see it? Here it goes. This is not a satellite and not an aircraft. One of the things that happened in Portugal, we had the puja set up in the center, and the very last night we did the puja, and one of these objects appeared over the puja table, and the orange that I put on the tray dematerialized from one frame to another and moved back to where it was before I offered it, before the puja, witnessed by everybody. It left the spot and went. I'm surprised he didn't include that. And then we took a picture of the group behind us were these beautiful light beams, like columns of light beams all around us. That was in one shot, no flash bulb. Beautiful. This is the CSETI triangle that I was talking about. This was a crop circle that we visualized and sent to the ETs. I don't know if we need all these floodlights. They're not going to be able to see a lot. So we were seeing this formation in our minds, sent it up to the ETs. And so here's another. We have a member of our team is a famous space artist. And just switch that off. And this object appeared. Do you see the red laser? Look at the shape of it. It's very unusual. And this was a communication system device. He was doing the CE5 and he stopped his van, his car, and took this picture. I not long ago got from the French military exactly the same object in a drawing from 1968, and that was in 1990 something, 92. So this one you saw, this was in the film Sirius. We can take this off if you I don't know if there's a way to get rid of that bar. These were 1, 2, 3. There were eventually 4 bluish white. Now they don't look that way on this film, and this is great to hear the sound on this. But I guess there's no ability to turn off the sound. Okay, all right. And this is the one where the guy goes, "Holy damn hot shit." But the reason he was so astounded is that this is an old Height 8 film. It wasn't digital, it was pre-digital. This is in 92. And I was signaling to them. We had done the meditation. They popped into, they didn't move in. They materialized in front of us. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And I was making a triangle in the sky.
Oh, look, did you see
Then
it?
they came in and made a triangle,
They're signaling. They are floating
reproducing what we were doing. There were 2 colonels from the Air Force there. And as it turns out, a guy named Moore, who wrote Bush's Brain about Karl Rove, he was there. And yeah, that book, about Karl Rove. But here they are, and they're moving towards us against a stiff wind coming off the Gulf of Mexico in March 1992. As this was going on, the part that isn't filmed, because there's no camera I know that would have captured it, we were in a circle by the ocean, and it was very windy. And amongst us and near the cars were these shimmering, almost holographic forms. Here they are. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they were about 30, 40 feet in diameter each. And these little beings started moving around us, and there were several women jumped in their pickup trucks and roared back to Pensacola. Now, a member of our team in New Mexico was doing CE5 during the day, meditating, and she couldn't see anything, but she clipped this picture. And very important that you understand, you may not see it with the naked eye, but it's there. And this is a seamless, sort of sombrero-shaped golden object, and it's been analyzed. It was estimated to be moving maybe around 500 miles an hour just from the blur factor. And it was a CE5 outside Santa Fe. This is what I was talking about. When I decided to buy this estate where I live now, this appeared in the meadow of the land of the man who was representing us to buy the property. And it's basically the Sea City Triangle, but the line going to the center instead of the outside, with these three other Sea City Triangle here in the center, a smaller one, and then a central circle. So it's variations on a theme. It's more of a tetrahedron looking. So it's like a 3D representation of the triangle or the mantra. And it was the ETs saying, welcome to your new home, and this is a good move for you. It was on the front page of the weekly paper. I couldn't believe it. So once you get plugged into these civilizations, they do all kinds of beautiful things to let you know that you're not alone. And in fact, we're never alone. This is a beautiful series of events that happened. It was, again, an early event in the 90s at Mount Shasta, a high 8 camera, no night scope. So I really need to describe it, but basically an object that was a triangular craft around, we're estimating 800 miles to 1,000 miles across. It was exo-atmospheric. It was seen from Vancouver all the way down to LA. I remember Art Bell getting hundreds of calls about it. We had created a CE5 protocol where after we do the meditation and remote viewing and the coherent thought sequencing to invite them in, I did a prayer for the healing of planet Earth where we asked the ETs to join. They loved it so much they came in, and it was this massive triangle, and it actually flips end on end. These are just the points that you can see 3 edges of the triangle, and it was really astonishing. Unfortunately, it was a very poor camera. We have much better cameras now. But they were saying to me, yes, do that, because we will join you in this consciousness that will heal and guide the earth and humanity. This is an object that was in the atmosphere in Crestone, Colorado, where I had a ranch, right above the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. And it was much brighter, or as bright as a bright satellite, but visible in broad daylight. And we have satellite charts when we go out. Anytime you go out, you should have either an app or printed out of all the satellites in the sky. If you don't, you're going to misidentify satellites as UFOs. Everyone does it. You've got to go out with a satellite chart. Here it comes. And look at it, suddenly picks up enormous speed and zips off towards the northeast. These are the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Bye-bye. And then this was at Joshua Tree right before the National Press Club event. I was told I needed to come even though I didn't have time for the disclosure project. Took up all my time. And we were hiking out of a cave where we had done a meditation where we were told this vision must guide the world of what we're doing. And Sherry always appeared. She had passed away, my right-hand assistant, best friend. And they murdered her, and they tried to kill me, but she's always a pink mist. And this is this ET I call kindness that Sherry introduced me to in a lucid dream the night of her passing. And this is actually a ship, cobalt blue, and there's almost never have we gone out for a whole week where kindness it doesn't show up. And it's usually blue-white or blue, and it appears, and it can come in and make right-hand turns. Sometimes it'll actually shine a blue light into the circle. And that's a senior ET whose name I created, Kindness, because when I met her, she was the quintessence of kindliness. So this we have to hear. Unfortunately, again, I don't know if we have no sound. When I was talking yesterday at Mount Shasta about this is when today, there was this tone that came through when we were in deep meditation. And at that instant, that we heard this tone that I hopefully will be able to play, the ship, it was a carrier wave for the ship. And in your consciousness, you could see this spherical, pearlescent, almost pearl gray object float from one side of the field through the circle in our minds and out the other side. And almost everyone saw it in their consciousness. But it was carried by this tonality, very Vedic. You know, the Vedic concept of name and form, or sound and form. This is another event that, I apologize, we don't have sound on some of these. This came in, what is this? All right. Someone said, oh, it's a mosquito flying over. I know it isn't, watch. I'm looking, this is me, and I'm looking up at this object right above us, and I look down. Look, see me looking? This comes in, and it's almost like it's a communication rod that came in, and it stayed in the center of the circle the entire night. But in a transdimensional, you'd have to look sideways with soft eyes, and you could see this thing shining. At the end of the night, a man went over and saw this green light in the center of where we had been, in the center of our circle, and tried to pick it up, but he couldn't. This is an interesting object. This is in the ultraviolet range. A member of our team in Australia, her dog wanted her to go outside and was sensing something and ran right underneath this object. And it went into the water. She lived on the water there. And very bright, and we analyzed that it was in the ultraviolet range. In an ideal world, we'd have 360 cameras at all times in the visible spectrum, night vision, infrared, and ultraviolet. But you know, that's a very expensive setup. This is me signaling to something that comes in. Watch. It's not a satellite. Now, we call these cosmic flash bulbs, and what they really are, there's a craft sitting out there, we're connecting to it, and it just lights itself up to let you know they're there. This is Mount Shasta, and look what's in the field. Look at these things. This is not anomalies. Now, this is with a night vision camera. Watch this. Triangle appears right in the field. So if you see one of these objects, two of them, watch. They will actually light up the trees around them. So these are coming in. They're like very fast. And when you see them, the reason that's all you're seeing is that that's all you're seeing in this dimension of an interstellar craft that's coming in at the crossing point of light and is just letting you know they're there. And then they dematerialize and they're sitting with you all night in the field, superimposed on space-time. Watch this one. Lights up, and it's like a lightning bolt in front of this tree. This is about 50 feet from us. Actually, my wife was with me and saw this one. Saw this with the naked eye, by the way. Another one. And people ask me, how many of these have we seen? Tens of thousands. We never do this protocol where we don't have the interstellar transdimensional manifestations like this, ever. And here's an object, no satellites up at this hour. It was at a time of night past when the shadow of the earth and the sun, there were no satellites. This comes in, and when I signal to it, look what it does. Beautiful. And it goes away. Now people say, well, what's going on with this? I said, well, they're basically connecting to us, letting us know they're there, and then we go on their craft in consciousness and travel out in the space with them. Well, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Some people have a hard time doing that at the very first week, but if you practice it, you, instead of just sitting there like a lump in your bodies, let your consciousness, which is infinite and omnipresent, go on board the ship and travel with them, and they will take you into other dimensions and to their worlds. Look at the size of this one. This one was a blue-white one, and I'm pretty sure it was kindness. This ET that had perfectly round head, beautiful almond-shaped eyes, very small, not as small as the Atacama humanoid, and kindness is sort of, the reason I named her that is she's the incarnation of just pure kindliness and enlightenment. Just beautiful, beautiful ET. And she's always with us when we're out now. She's a very senior ambassador and very enlightened from an advanced civilization that's been cleared to interact with us. Look at her. This is her. Look at that. visible massively with the naked eye, past the hour when there are any satellites visible in the sky. Now, these are objects, the Air Force has called them fast walkers. There's a movie made of that. Look at this disk. Not a falling star. It's going up, and you can see the disk shape of it. See it? There it goes. Came up out of the volcano. This is the Pleiades, by the way. Straight up. Now, we see this all the time when we're out. And at Mount Shasta, often, like that one that we just saw, not this one, the previous one, actually emerged out of the volcano, because deep in the volcano is a transdimensional interstellar base that's been operative since the Lemurians and the continent out in the Pacific that sank. You all know about that? Yeah, most of you do. Hey, it's a weekend, not a year. I can only go into so much. I mean, look at this. Came out and going up. And it was more like a ball. This is not a falling star. This is not a tail. There was no visible tail. It's a night scope, and so when it's very bright, it leaves a streak in the film. Here's another one going upward. And by the way, when these occur, usually, if we had the sound, you'd be able to hear the detectors going off. They'll appear, and suddenly the detectors that I've just showed you, these electromagnetic device, magnetometer, radar detector, what have you, will start talking, either just before or during. Now, these are the Orion transmissions.
Look at the various frequencies
Simultaneously.
simultaneously. Look at the various frequencies simultaneously. Now see the craft that is here around us in your astral celestial vision, and the beings who are here. Open your hands like this and let their energy pour into you. The knowledge of this transmission. I told our group that as soon as we arrived and made circle here, this would happen.
Yeah, you did.
Didn't I?
You did.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other detector. There's two of them.
Is that yet another frequency of the
Yeah.
EM?
Yep. I said yes.
See, the one under my chair
There's a being right here.
speaks loudly
Right
and
here.
softly.
There's a being right here. You can't hear me. Oh my God. Oh my God, they're coming.
This went on for 23 minutes, and that was when the crystal began to radiate the energy I spoke of last night. Here's an object. We're walking on the beach. A member of our team senses, and this object comes into this dimension in the haze. And the previous night, the same object came in and went into the ocean, and it stayed there with us the entire week on the outer banks of North Carolina, the barrier islands. Here's a enhancement that shows the disk shape. The night before, we didn't get it on camera, it came in and it was 3 inches at arm's length. That's how big it was. And it would materialize as a golden ship, dematerialize, and it materialized and go straight into the ocean. This is one of the most astonishing events ever. We're on the ocean. A craft had come across the sky and gone into the ocean that I just mentioned. And this is our circle. And suddenly on the beach, for an entire hour, 90 feet from us, this is the edge of the ocean and the waves. See them breaking? And on the sand, 90 feet from our circle, is a teal blue white, and golden object. And it completely without any other visible phenomenon. These are not fireflies, and they had color and they had intelligence. And each time they went off, they were sending to us packets of information. And really, they were shifted beyond the speed of light.
Protective, holding the protection. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The human cabal that has been targeting these things are being held off so this can be here visible for people. This is amazing that this is visible. Oh, there it is.
Look at how bright.
Did you see it?
It's doing it every
Now, everyone saw this with the naked eye, not just the night scopes. It went on for an hour, at the end of which I walked into the area where these 3 objects had been going off for an hour. And I went into an energy field, and the people behind me saw me dematerialize. I just felt very light, like I was levitating. But then there was a curtain of light above me that I went through, and I realized that they were asking me to leave. And I could have, but I knew it wasn't time, and I just burst into
filming this
tears.
with the night
It was so
scope.
emotional.
Has everyone seen this at least once or twice?
Yeah.
It's done it about 100 times, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
over 100 times.
But you know,
In the
there,
same
it was
spot.
right. It was just exactly right here.
That's my
It
laser.
was right here. Did you see it? Okay.
So these were the God consciousness level interstellars that were, the ship was in the ocean. They were teleported onto the beach as points of consciousness that were visible with the naked eye, and they were communicating with us for an hour. You'll want to do this sometime? Let's go do it. It's so beautiful. Look at this. This is one of the most important pieces of video in history. You won't believe this when it goes slow. People go crazy. We were doing the contact protocols. This object in the field lifts straight up. Watch it. It turns to the left. Great camera work, Todd. Look at this. Watch out. Look at it right here. It's going. It's like going in and out of this dimension, almost like a caterpillar. It's shrinking. Watch it now. Lift up. Straight up. This is a light ship. It is ET, and it had been there with us that evening. It took off because of a threat that came in, but it went off into deep space. Is that stunning? Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. We did a conference in Rio Rico for a couple hundred people. We're sitting on a roof of a hotel, and this comes in right above the group. It's a partially materialized, tetrahedral shaped, massive ship that was right above us. Yeah. As soon as this happened, the sky was filled with jets. There were special forces that broke into my room. You wouldn't believe what goes on. If you did it in a movie, no one would believe it could be true. Look at that disc. Now, the streak wasn't the tail. Again, that's the night vision scope light cells because it's so bright. Look at this thing. You can see the shape of it. It's very disc-shaped, like the one that came up out of Mount Shasta, that cork, one I call that corkscrews through space and sort of is going in and out of space-time. Well, watch this. Not a falling star. Are y'all enjoying this? Is this helpful? Okay, well, because it gives imagery to some of what I've been trying to describe for the last day or so. And if you go out with your own teams, you'll see much of this. But I want to explain what's going on. It's all interacting with consciousness and with our intent, and they always try to let us know they're there with us. We've never done a week expedition where kindness hasn't appeared and several dozen of these others. Now this, of course, is the most important photograph ever taken. Recently someone published something proving it was a hoax. It is not. I know the woman who took it. I was beside her. This is not an angel, looks like it, because it's an energy field. His name's Bijou. He's from Andromeda Galaxy. This is not a man-made light. This is a teleportation system coming from the orb on the left. And see these two eyes, nose, has like teleportation device up here. He's waving here. His left leg is behind him, and his left leg is here. These are his boots, and it's just in this dimension. He has a concave head like Worf on the Star Trek. These two eyes, he's wearing night vision goggles. The nose is bright because the orb is over here that's holding his energy. This is his chest and abdomen. He's about 4 to 5 feet tall. He was floating right outside the group, and he was a senior ambassador. Look at the size of his head from his eyes to the top. It's at least 2 to 3 times ours. This is the one when I asked him his IQ about 450. Very, very beautiful spirit, ET. This is if you can imagine astral projection that can be done electronically, where it then bleeds into this dimension. That's what their technologies are capable of. This is not a planet. This is the orb that lit up. This is the cone of light holding his energy, and this is him. Just before this, here he is. If you contrast it, this is him. Look at the size of the head.
You sure he's not wearing a hat?
No, he's not wearing a hat. No. I think the old, Jewish yarmulkes and headdresses of Jewish tradition came from encounters with beings that were wearing these crown chakra teleportation devices. That's my theory. I don't think rabbis like it, but... And what you need to understand about this is that it was preceded. We were at a break, and we walked out at Geology Tour Road up here in Joshua Tree, and at the break, here he is. This is what he really looked like. Now, with the naked eye, not visible, but we heard a group of 3 or 4 ETs speaking in a language not our own. And the ETs were in a group where the photograph was taken, and only Bijou allowed himself to move into the camera frame. This is a very detailed measurement. So the east field is out here. I had been down there, and this object materialized about 6 inches from my shoulder. This is what that same area looks like with a man-made flashlight. Look at the difference. With the same camera at the same setting. This is a daytime shot taken by a different camera, and it just shows our chairs were here, there was a tree here that's not in the frame, and the being, the ET, was here. Cool, huh? Yeah. Now, take a look at this. We're in deep meditation. There's a medical doctor from Peru who's on the team in Florida, and this thing comes in, wraps around her, goes up to her third eye and crown chakra. I call it the cosmic spermatozoa. It almost looks like, but look at it come in. This is a still camera, high quality. It's a $5,000 state-of-the-art camera. And this comes in, wraps around her, and goes up. So, very beautiful. This happens all the time when we're out there. You don't always get a good photo of it, but when you do, you really see. And here's the same expedition, and this light being is on the sand in front of me. We're just setting up. Looks like there's a halo. It's actually an energy field, teleportation energy field. And you'll see it has 2 eyes, the torso, very abstract. See the eyes? Very, just barely, it's like a crystalline being in this dimension. This would be a beautiful piece of art in a gallery. Wouldn't it, Michael, for this art gallery thing we want to do? Stunning. Outer Banks. I mean, we're going quick through these because I can't pause. Now, we're at a site. Look at this. How close? 20 feet, 30 feet. It lights up the tree. So people say, what is that? That is an entire extraterrestrial spacecraft coming into this dimension. All we're seeing of it is the leading edge of it bumping up into this dimension, and they're letting us know they're there, and then they're just hovering, dematerialized for the rest of the night. Here it is. This was visible with the naked eye. And I mean stunning. In front of the tree. These are not artifacts or what have you. This is an amazing story. It would take a couple hours to go through all of it. You can hear the detector just went off. Hear it? That's Walter. I affectionately call him Walter. And there's a ship out on the ocean. There's a highway here. Watch this. Jesus. Did you hear beep beep when it came? Look at the size of this thing. It was orange. Now this is a monochromatic green night scope. It was beautiful orange, golden, and it lit up the entire ocean all the way to it and dematerialized. Now watch this one. It's absolutely, and the light isn't light from an aircraft. See, and there's nothing there when it vanishes. It's celestial light from deep transdimensional interstellars that are at the level of God consciousness. And the experience of it, you go into a very high state of consciousness, just the energy bathing you in this cosmic light. Look at this one. Watch how it turns. Sharp 300-degree turn. Boom. Stunning. And then dematerializes. Not an airplane, not a satellite, not Superman, not a weather balloon. This is what happens all the time when we go out. I'm just showing you a few images out of thousands we have. Thousands. And this is with amateur equipment, amateur camera people, and volunteers. Imagine if we had professional grade staffing and professional grade equipment. No, I'm just saying that, they're doing the best they can. I am too, with very little resources. This was a huge crimson red ship. Look at this.
Oh, it's back.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Right here.
Oh, it vanished. There were two of them. The first one was missed. This one, it took a little while for the camera to get moved over to it. This is why we need 360-degree camera capability, which is, we just don't have it, but we need to get it. Paging all camera nerds. But it was beautiful. Now on this film, it looks just monochromatic. It was this gorgeous crimson deep red. And it was there very close. And we were connecting with the occupants. And after it dematerialized, we had this meditation where we met the occupants in meditation, many people. The electronics were going crazy. And we're out on this national seashore, 100-mile long Cape Hatteras National Seashore, where there was absolutely nothing that would have made these electronic detectors go off, and they began to talk to us afterwards in ways that were just beautiful. Here it is again. It was quite large. At arm's length, it was probably the size of a nickel. If you hold your arm out, which is actually pretty big. If you look at what the size of a helicopter aircraft is, it was fairly close over the ocean. I'm quite convinced it was the same group of ETs that had come up, that had gone into the ocean the first night we were there. These civilizations are always with us, and it isn't just one or two. It really is hundreds of them. Perhaps thousands, and in the universe there's countless numbers, but not all of them are involved with the mission to planet Earth. That's my laser. And we're looking due east over the water. This is beautiful because we have this, another what I call cosmic flashbulb. And we're there. Look at the brilliance of it. It lit up the whole circle.
Oh, it just did it again.
It just did it again. So it's this object that came in, materialized, and filled the circle with light. One time we were there, we didn't have a camera on. We were having bebidas and conviviality at 3 in the morning after being out all night. And sitting out in a circle, just 4 or 5 of us, and kindness came over, stopped, and rolled out a beam of light that lit up the entire circle where we were sitting. This is the Milky Way galaxy, and we're up at Blanca Peak at our contact site, and all these objects appear within about 4 or 5 feet of me. Now on channel 1 in my consciousness, what we were doing, we were having a meeting at this contact site up on Blanca Peak, which is the sacred mountain of the East for the Native American tribes of that area, the 3rd highest peak in Colorado. And there were ETs that were there and their craft emerging out of the mountain, and then shifted behind, people could see the sort of celestial realm, and behind that, the realm of the divine avatars and ascended masters. But this appeared right beside me, next to us in front of the bushes at this contact site. When we've gone to the areas of the crop circles, this is really fun. We had someone who had a great camera who there was this orange weirdness. Now it's on a tripod, not being moved, and this is normal. This is a still photograph. That's my head, and this is this object. And it is not an artifact. And watch, because it moves. Here it is again. There's feedback coming out of somewhere. Look at it. And it has a little bit of violet color here. This is my head now, so I'm looking the other way. It moved this way. Isn't this awesome? There's a guy from France who's on our team. And here it is, another one. This is a separate photograph. These are in sequence. And I'm looking around, boom, 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 very quickly.
Did you see it when you were there?
I felt it. And we had a detector in the center of the crop circle that was going dum, dum, da dum, 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 da dum, 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 da dum, 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 da dum, for a long time. My detector did that as I went into my house last night, by the way. Very anomalous. So watch when they put it into motion. So we boom, boom, boom. This is a tripod not moving with a remote. We never let our people touch the camera to take a picture. They do it with a remote control. Boom, boom, boom. So this is actually there. Then watch what happens. Oh, there's another one. It'll come in later. This is the crop circle where we did work that year, and this is just from above. We placed ourselves in this area right here. Beautiful. In the very center of it, when I put one of our detectors down, it started making like angelic celestial music. And there were all these croppies, people who go on these crop circle tours. It's really a disaster when I go because end up having 1,000 people following me into the field. But that began to make these sounds. And that night we set up, and this was at dusk, beautiful photography, and there were all these chevron objects that began to appear. This is in one frame. Luminous objects. Now this is with no flash bulbs. We never allow flash bulbs because I see pictures all the time. It's a flash bulb. It's illuminating insects, dust, whatever. This is no flash. It's a very sophisticated camera that had the high ISO and a certain shutter speed so we could capture phenomenon. And these are all above this crop circle field area. Look at this when you see the light coming from another dimension into this one. This is one photo.
Do you think those were the beings that made it? Or...
These were the ET civilizations that were involved with that particular fractal crop circle shape. They're archetype types in consciousness, but enliven awareness like a mandala. If that makes sense. People have done, remember. Now, this is the puja. It's just a photo to show you the crop circle and where we set up. And this particular night, we had done a really deep meditation. And in the silent time, look what appears. This This is not an artifact. There's this blue light that envelops the puja table. This is one of our detectors with a green light on it. This blue light, and then there's this weird tubular structure coming out of one dimension into this dimension. And it's this extraterrestrial, but very transdimensional. Beautiful. Aren't these beautiful pictures? Yeah. I mean, I don't take credit because I don't operate cameras. You don't want to get me near one. I'll break everything. Yeah. So here's another one. And it's beneath these low clouds. And it's this beautiful spherical ship. And not Photoshop. This is actually the reason it looks so bright and colorful is because we've adjusted the camera for the ISO, the speed, and the lens, and what have you. So it's almost like a night vision system, but in full color. This is my finger, and I'm in this, another crop circle pointing. I said there's a ship over here. This is me in a cap. And here's this. What is that? Wait till they blow it up. It's like, wow. So this is an interstellar vehicle that's in a spherical form. If it were to fully materialize, it probably would be several hundred to several thousand feet across. But often they will just appear in these forms because if they fold within space-time, and all you can detect is a small part of it. This is what you need to begin to look for, by the way, and photograph with your team. And it's a gorgeous. Now, people said, did anyone see it with the naked eye? I'm saying, whose naked eye? I did, and I could feel it. And so luckily, the person with me that year listened when I would say, I sensed something over here, and I'm pointing. He took a picture, and there it is. Now, this is a different crop circle, and we're going into it, climbing over a hill into this field, and you see where people have walked in. And this object comes in over us. Very strange. Wait till you get a good blow-up of it. Very high resolution camera. I forget how many megapixels it is. It's a Nikon. Look at it. There again, it has a dark and indented area. It's seamless. It has these two objects coming off of it. Here it is. And it was above us in the field. Kind of a dull gunmetal gray. Now, we're up on Woodborough Hill here, which is in Alton Barnes, where epicenter where many of the greatest crop circles have been formed. And this chevron-shaped thing, or boomerang-shaped object, it floats down across this field where there have been many, many, many crop circles over the years. There wasn't one that year. These are just, this is exposed for a few seconds. So my laser, I was pointing it out, and I hit the grass. But I was pointing it out because it emerged into this dimension and then dematerialized. There is no road or anything else in this area. This is very, very steep. Those of you who've been there. And you can see everyone's craning around looking because I'm pointing it out. So we had meditated up there. I don't know if this was the year. Here's another object. And it was this year. And when I set up to do the puja in the center of the circle, so we'll all make a circle and I do it in the very center. There were all these cows in this meadow that year, which was a little disconcerting. But it turns out they loved us, and they came over, and this is a true story. They came over when we were ready to meditate, and one by one they kneeled down and sat around the circle in the puja meditating with us until it was over. And then when we finished meditating, they got up and went off to another area. All these cows. It's magnificent. Another one, barely in this dimension, boomerang shaped. Now this is not an aircraft that's changed directions with a time lapse. This is Just barely. And here's another one. I don't, to be honest, this one was very, very brilliant when it flashed in. I don't know if it originated here and then left, or it originated here and got closer. It happened very quickly. But in a way, these are beautiful abstract paintings. I mean, they're, you know, if you just take them as they are. Oh, this is my laser pointing over to that one. And here's another one. Look at this. The area right over where these appeared in Roman times, it was called Flying Shield Hill. And there's a Golden Ball Hill. So these objects have been seen for thousands of years in this area of England. That's how those areas got their name, I'm quite sure. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? So when we're under the sky meditating, these objects can appear during the meditation, during breaks, at any point. We set up the environment to welcome them in universal peace, and then we just let them appear any way that they can. When we have an object that is in this dimension for any length of time, at this site, we've actually had military helicopters with no markings and no lights on them come over at about 100 feet above us. Very aggressive and very disconcerting, actually. This has happened more than once at this site. This was a fairly recent expedition, but in 1992, when this craft fully materialized in the North Field off of Woodborough Hill on this 1,800-acre farm that we get permission to use. It's part of the Royal Trust lands, and the farmer loves when we come. This craft that appeared in 92 in the field, that ended up causing the following year the covert programs to put antennas in the whole area. And Colin Andrews had multiple farmers in the area saying that they encountered these guys skulking around, putting reconnaissance systems around the week before my team arrived. Yeah. Which happens also all the time. So when we do these, these announced locations and trainings, obviously, if you know, so does you know who. But we just take that as a given, and we work around it by being in higher consciousness with events like this happening that they can't stop. By the way, this was a time exposure, and this is an object aircraft that's moving over. This is not an aircraft. For many years, I would take people into the crop circles to experience and remote view the energy of each one, and then at night go out till maybe 2 in the morning doing this. I've stopped doing it only because there's no way for me to be there. The last time we did it, there were entire tour buses trying to track where we were, and then like 80 people invading our site, and it it gets out of hand. So I mean, there's no way to hide me out in those areas during the crop circle season. This is fantastic. So I was remote viewing. I said they're here, and at that instant, you see people turning around. Now, these are just people moving stuff because it's a few second exposure. This object, this is the edge of the hill right here. It appears right at the edge of the hill. It looks like the sun rising. Look at this. Not an artifact. And it's a big spherical energy field, and within it is an extraterrestrial vehicle and a group of ETs that we then contact and remote view and have relationships with in the dream time afterwards. But they come in very, very profoundly, very briefly.
Did they tell you where they're from?
Sometimes they will let us know. I mean, like in Bijou, I asked, he told me he was from the Andromeda Galaxy. He did not give the star system. This one, I don't know the origin. I didn't ask. When too much else going on. But I will tell you that every stable star system has planets, and and those planets have beings that are conscious even as we are. Now, this is one of the most amazing photographs. What didn't get photographed was what happened right before this. We're setting up for the puja. This is when we had the Ministry of Defense of Francis guys there, but nobody knew it. And this object blips into this dimension, this mauve purple object.